woolly mammoth is an icon of the Ice Age. Woolly mammoths ranged all across North America during the Pleistocene. They were encountered by humans, including, most notably, the ancient Clovis people who hunted woolly mammoths and even, in rare occasions, depicted them in rock art. These rock art sites are incredibly rare and hard to find. In this video, I'm going to seek out a few of these sites and share them with you. What was it like for the people to actually encounter woolly mammoths firsthand? I'm hoping, as I visit some of these sites, I'll get a sense of what it felt like to see living woolly mammoths roaming the American West. Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here. In this episode of Desert Lore, I am going to be hunting for woolly mammoths. Woolly mammoths were giant animals that lived in North America during the Ice Age and were encountered by Ice Age hunters, such as the people we call the Clovis people. Some of them actually depicted woolly mammoths in some rock art. So today we're going to be taking a look at some of these and looking at some of these sites where people who actually saw living woolly mammoths with their own eyes depicted what they saw in the stone. Now here in southern Utah, in this area, during the Ice Age, which about 10,000 years ago, there were numbers of different species of woolly elephants. The woolly mammoth is the one most people have heard of. There was a much bigger mammoth here called a Columbian mammoth. There was also gomphotheres, platybelodons, and mastodons. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these. Columbian mammoths were huge. Columbian mammoths were much larger than a modern day elephant or a woolly mammoth, and there is some indication that they may have been less woolly than a woolly mammoth. Enormous tusks, and they were grazers, which means they were seeking grass to eat, just kind of like a buffalo today. The teeth of a woolly mammoth show this. The teeth, these ridges here, this is the chewing surface, and they would eat grass, chew, swallow, digest. Pretty cut and dry. Well, the other famous elephant of the area was the mastodon. The mastodons look similar. They're smaller, they're more flat-backed, and their teeth, their tusks are usually a little bit straighter, but they're browsers, and so as such the teeth are shaped very differently. The chewing surface is much more robust and designed for, again, eating pine needles and pine boughs and leaves and branches and pine cones, things that are tougher and coarser than grass. And so this is the reason why mastodons had such big teeth. So on the outside, if you saw either of these, you might not at first be able to tell the difference at first glance, but it's more about how they lived. So if you wanted to find a mastodon, you would want to go in the forest. But in this area where I'm at right now, near the Colorado River, woolly mammoths and Columbian mammoths would come down to the river. And we even have a site here in Utah with an enormous cave where woolly mammoth or Columbian mammoths and woolly mammoths would spend their time. And wherever you spend the time, you're going to go to the bathroom. And we have huge piles of dung left over from Columbian mammoths that stayed in this cave. So this whole area, Columbian mammoths lived. But how long did they last? We know humans hunted them. We know they lived till at least 10,000 years ago. But what are the odds that the very last mammoth is the one that a paleontologist finds? Probably not. Whatever the absolute last Columbian mammoth in this area was, could have been something that was much further and never got found. Excuse me. So with that in mind, some of these petroglyphs are very distinct, very clearly obvious, a member of the elephant family. Some of them, like this first one we're going to go check out, it's questionable. And some people say, oh, it does look like a mammoth, but it's too recent, meaning the patina, the way the rock wears down, appears that this was made too recently. Maybe a piece of rock art only made 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. That's not far back enough to be a mammoth. Well, who's to say? It could be that mammoth hunters weren't hunting mammoths anymore because mammoths were effectively extinct. But maybe there were a few pockets here in these vast canyons in this area that didn't encounter humans for generations. And then when they did, people were so overtaken by seeing an animal they had never heard of that they decided to depict it on rock. So that's the first one we're going to go take a look at. We're going to go up here on the mountain and we're going to take a look at a piece that is questioned by some, not because of how it looks, but because of how old it's believed to be. But I think what we're going to be looking at is a genuine Columbian mammoth or woolly mammoth petroglyph. Well, here we have some confirmed woolly mammoth food. Columbian mammoths and woolly mammoths ate both of these. So, we're in the middle of the desert. We got these tufts of bunch grass here, and you've also got prickly pear cacti that is starting to blossom, and you can see the first little bits of the fruit coming up in there. Now we know from dung samples that were taken from the caves here in Utah from woolly mammoths, we know that mammoths ate these two things. They ate a ton of bunch grass and they ate prickly pear cacti. Doesn't sound too tasty, but it's got a lot of nutrition. It's weird again thinking of a grazer looking for grass in this open country. But again, if you follow these river bottoms in this area, it would have been great for a woolly mammoth to just cruise around and just keep going upriver or keep going downriver, find more grass, find more cactus, find more grass, find more cactus, and just keep moving. And because the area is so vast, even though desert ecosystems are very delicate, they just keep replenishing themselves. So again, what we're looking at here is the same species. And it's weird to think that these actual cacti could be the ancestors of cacti that were directly fed on by mammoths. Right down here, we got some deer tracks, not very big. You can see right here. The deer come through here, and they're after some of the same food that the mammoths were after. You know, you can see again, these little patches of bunch grass. They come through here on the wash. And there's also yucca. Now, yucca is not a very nutritious food, but it is really good for mammoths and for giant ground sloths. Both of these we find in caves around here. We do find dung balls from both of those species, and we do find that they did consume these yuccas. Now, yucca fiber is really tough. It's very sinewy. It's got a lot of dense structure to it. It's hard to break down. So it's really, you gotta have tough teeth to break this down. Now these flower stalks, these dry out. And the seed pods up here, you can see these. Those flower stalks were used all over by tribes. This is one of the best things to use for a bow and drill fire. The fire piston, the center part of a bow and drill, that is the best wood, arguably, for it. And I'll do some other videos demonstrating that. Now, these are actually distantly related to the asparagus. And when they're green like this, the new flower stalks, you can actually eat them. They're pretty good. You can eat the flowers too, but the flowers, once they blossom, they are not good to eat raw. You got to boil them. Otherwise, they have some chemicals that'll upset your stomach. But this right now, you could cut this up, fry this up, and eat it. This would be tasty. Butter it up. Here along the Colorado River, there's a lot of rocks that make it through this area, from hundreds and even thousands of miles upriver. They all get through the river and they all get washed and worked and rounded, just like a normal river stone. But in this area, we see a lot of the Ice Age hunters were looking for agates, for flint and chert to use to make stone tools and to make hunting weapons like Clovis points. So a lot of times in these areas, you'll find where ancient hunters pick up a rock, take another rock like a hammerstone, knock off a few flakes. Is this usable? No, chuck it. Pick up another one, hit. Is usable? No, chuck it. So a lot of times you'll see a lot of these exploratory hits where, again, ancient hunters would just take a rock, would break off a piece and just see what's inside. Well, it's really windy right now, so I hope you can hear me okay, and I hope the wind isn't too bad. But you look right up there behind me, and you can see right where we're about to go. And this is the spot where we're going to see our first mammoth. Now, when I found this years ago, obviously lots of other people have found it as well over the eons, but I was just walking along this ridge looking for peregrine falcon nests. And I just came around a corner and bam, was face to face with a mammoth. Let's go ahead and go over there and we're going to check it out. Okay, I'm up here now with the first mammoth that we're going to see on this little expedition. Now, this red, this deep red, it's an iron oxide patina. Iron in the rocks washing over, it kind of stains it. You chisel through it, and you get the light underneath. It's the oldest trick in the book. People have done it all around the world for thousands of years. It's a good way to have resistance. Now, really old pieces usually will start to have, as the water flows back over the rock, eventually it will repatinate over. So our oldest petroglyphs will find that originally this understone was chiseled out and then it's been blackened again. That is one of the reasons why some archaeologists believe this is not an ancient site, like it's maybe only 1,000 or 5,000 or 6,000 years old. I don't think that. I think that that is the case, but I do think that it is from a mammoth. So here's what I think about this piece. This area, again, for thousands of years, had mammoths roaming these canyons. These canyons are just like endless labyrinths. They go on and on forever. And it's not unfathomable that ancient hunters did not kill off the last of the mammoths. There were some isolated pockets here and there, and they didn't encounter people for hundreds or even thousands of years. And maybe whoever made this piece, maybe they encountered a mammoth and didn't even know what one was, and this is the way they depicted it. So it very clearly seems to have a trunk that goes all the way up and arches over. It has a hunch to the back, just like you would see on a woolly mammoth. Now the feet, they're also spread out like a mammoth. You look at mammoth feet are spread out like this. There are some people who try to say this is a bear. Well, maybe it is, but I've never seen a bear with a trunk. And again, this trunk goes all the way up and curves around. You can see it. So I think that this is either a Columbian mammoth or a woolly mammoth, but I think it's one that was encountered much, much later than when we assume the last of the mammoths were here. That's my belief of this. So this is the one that's in dispute. But now we're going to go to another part of Utah, local, about 100 miles away, and we're going to take a look at some mammoths that are guaranteed, that all the experts agree are 100% depictions of ancient Columbian mammoths. So let's go. We're going to take a look at these. Now we're at our second location as we're hunting for woolly mammoth petroglyphs. Now, I'm kind of losing my voice, so I hope you can hear me okay. It's a little bit windy too, but it's going to be well worth it because these are the 100% confirmed mammoth petroglyphs that we have here in Utah. Again, the ones we saw earlier, some people question it, but these ones, guaranteed. Now, but I want to talk really quickly about hunting woolly mammoths. We know the Clovis culture did hunt mammoths at times. Some people say they were exclusive mammoth hunters. Some people say it was a rarity. We don't know for sure, but we do know kind of the quick evolution of how weapons started. So this right here, this is a thrust spear. It's a glorified walking stick, stabbity stab. These were the first weapons that were used for this purpose. But again, this is a very dangerous weapon to use. And then people switched to this weapon system. This is called an atlatl. This thing is the atlatl. This is a dart. It looks like an arrow on steroids. You hook the atlatl dart onto the atlatl like this, and you throw it. And when you throw it, it bends and it snaps back into shape. It goes over 100 miles an hour, and it can kill something 100 yards, 300 feet away. So this was the first kind of super weapon of humanity. This has been used all over the world, not just by the Clovis culture. North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia, Pacific Islands, you name it, everywhere this weapon system has been found. But again, we do know that the Clovis culture, the same people who carved these mammoth petroglyphs, we know that this is the weapon system they used to sometimes hunt woolly mammoths. So we're going to go down here. We're going to take a look at these petroglyphs, and it's going to be fun because we're going to see a lot of different cultures. There's many different cultures. Some of these date back only like the past 100, 150 years, all the way back to 10 to 12,000 years. And we're going to see a bunch of different styles and enjoy them all. So already we can see up here, there's some ancient petroglyphs and a ton of modern graffiti. What's the difference between graffiti and art? It's kind of in the eye of the beholder, right? But looking across at these, it is interesting to see some of these different styles. And looking up here, again, there's a wide range. But we're going to look at some good stuff. Now these first images here, according to archaeologists, are generally associated with the Ute tribe. And they're kind of a distinct style. There's some definite figures there, and definite some animal figures as well. It's kind of pretty. It's really cool. Behind me is native honeybee hive. What's left of it? I don't know if it's in use right now or not, but this is really cool. In this particular area, they have done a lot of work, even with artificial hives, to try to increase natural pollinators. But we're going to take a look at this up close. This is really cool. You normally think bees and beehives. This one isn't in use yet. It's April. They haven't started. But if you can kind of see into that there, you can see what's left of the honeycombs. It's really kind of neat to see that structure just there, just wild. It's wild bees building on the sides of a little cliff enclosure there. It's pretty neat. A lot of times we act like we should always be afraid of bees, but bees are not aggressive unless they're defending their hive. They're just trying to do their thing. Take a look at this. These are droppings. Something purchased here. Something small, something that's a hunter. Could be like a screech owl, but it also might be a swallow, because if you look up above here, there's these little circles in the rock. Hopefully I can zoom in and show them there. Little circles there and there. Those are cliff swallow nests that are broken off, but they just take mud and dab them together and make a nest. But you can just kind of see those there. So I wonder if that was a roost. Could be. These are very interesting styles. They're incised incredibly deeply. You don't normally see that around here. I don't know what culture these are attributed to, but again, that's a very deep style. It's not just the standard peck and grind that we see just to get the patina and to get the lighter rock underneath. It's really deep. Some more that are really etched incredibly deep. Again, that is unusual to put that much effort in to commend an image to stone. Now, the patina, normally you chisel down in to that lower patina. But the strange thing with this is these have repatinated over the top, which means either one of two things. Either these are incredibly old, that they've gotten that desert varnish over them again, or it could just be that a lot of water flows through this area and it has re-tarnished the outside. There's some more up above there, but I can't quite get a good look at those through the branches, but you can kind of see that looks like an animal, maybe some legs. Very interesting styles. I have not seen styles like this really anywhere before. Very unique. And again, whoever did this really intentionally did it. This was not just casual scrapings. There was thought and intention behind these. Looks like there's also a whole lineup of human figures here. Lined up, and again, very unique style. That one's a little bit different than the others. Almost looks like maybe a mother and a child. Again, that's just supposition. You don't know what these are unless you talk to the actual person who made them. These are not a written language. But again, interesting to see humans depicting themselves. There's some more back up here. I've looked up photos of this area, and I'm familiar with, the mammoths and a few of the others. But there's more of these styles that are very unique human style that I have not seen anywhere else before. And again, they are so old. The patina, that desert varnish is completely reformed over them. And it makes me wonder if these might be from roughly that same time period, the end of the Ice Age. Whoever was experiencing woolly mammoths could have also been the ones who did these human figures. We don't know, because again, it's not a written language. A mammoth is a mammoth. If you can see a mammoth, you're like, that's a mammoth. I know when that's from. But these, we don't know. So let's take a closer look at these. But again, it's interesting to see the humanity and wonder, what were they trying to depict and why were they depicting it? Yeah, I hope these pick up. I hope you can see these. But again, there's other images here too, but very stylized human figures. Very ghostly. I don't know, echoes from the past. There's a lot up there too that you really, really can't see. There's a lot over here too. Looking through here. Hopefully you can catch some of that. See if you can get the thing to focus. I'm gonna get a different angle here that's not zooming in right. Okay, this one looks like a person riding a horse. And unlike those other images, you can see the desert varnish has not reformed over it. So not only because it's a person riding a horse, but also because the light rock is shining through underneath. It's clearly a much more recent image, where again, these up here, much older. Here's some more that are more recent. And again, a lot of animals. These look like bighorn sheep, footprint. Looks like some sort of a humanoid figure. And I don't know what that is, if it's a dog, a bear, some kind of animal. But over here, these are kind of famous. So these are weird. So the bottom panels are considered to be historic and real horses. And the upper ones with these strange faces are believed to be cowboys in the early 1900s. So again, the horses would be like 1800s there, and then cowboys in the early 1900s did those weird faces. You can see the different styles. Got some interesting ones here. This looks like some kind of a deer head. That's pretty modern looking, but doesn't mean it is. Then these over here, normally spirals like that, and the bighorns are often associated with the Fremont culture, the people we call the Fremont. But that is kind of strange, having them being so long-legged like that. That's not normally the style. So that could be a different people. Many different peoples came through and inhabited this area, crossed over. But that is interesting to see, these big, old, long-legged bighorn sheep. Really gangly looking. Got some people riding horses there. And over here, got someone with a bow and arrow. Looks like a rather robust individual. This right here is the San Juan River, which is what brings in all the animals in the area. It's got fresh water, fresh food from that water. So that's why people would live and camp along these rocks. It's got to be by the river. You can catch fish. You have fresh supply of food. And you have water. All the things you need. And the woolly mammoths come down here to drink. This is a young whip-tailed skink. And this is one of the strangest lizards we have in North America, because for the most part, they replicate through a process called parthenogenesis, which is where the females just kind of clone themselves in the eggs. And so it's almost impossible to ever find a male whip-tailed lizard. It's very strange. Very few vertebrates do this. Well, this is kind of interesting. On the side canyon here, there's a ladder, and I'm sure this has got to be modern. I don't know why it's there though, but this is what the people who lived in this area used to get up and down areas and in and out of pueblos. They would construct ladders like this. These are often found at ancient sites, but I think this is just a modern ladder, but I don't know why it's there. It's kind of neat seeing it though. These ones look very recent, and they're very vibrant. The difference between light and dark is very apparent. You gotta wonder who this person is and who this person is. A lot of individuals. It could be different ages, could be different meanings, but it's just neat to see them and kind of get a sense and a feel of what the people who made these did. What did they feel? What did they think? What were they trying to convey? Well, you know, I went looking absolutely everywhere, right to where I know the area it should be, and I was not able to find it. I'm going to post some pictures up on here of this site so I can describe it for you. I wanted to get these shots in person. I'm still getting over a really bad cold, and I'm going to call it a day today. I'm going to come back and find it later on, but I want you to see what this place looks like. So what's really interesting, a local artist found these. Now, there's a lot of petroglyphs here that I've already shown you, and they stretch a wide range of time. But a local artist noticed these tiny little obscure mammoths. So there's a mammoth and what is believed to be a longhorned bison. And then a little over the other side, there is another mammoth. And they're so old that, again, they have the patination as There's a donkey. I don't know if you can hear. There's a donkey over there going nuts. But it's very rare to see in the New World ancient depictions of megafauna like this. And this is why this is one of the most profound sites, and it is so profound, and yet it's not like a national park or anything. And so because of that, it doesn't have quite the protection that we would like such a profound site to have. So the location and the name are not typically broadcast, as well as the exact location of these petroglyphs. But I was sure I was going to be able to find them, didn't manage to dial them in, so I'll come back and check them out. But again, it's very important to understand that ancient people here crossed over with species that are no longer on our planet. And that to me is pretty profound. And that's what I love, is anytime you see any rock art at all, what things did these people see that we don't see anymore? So anyways, I hope you enjoyed coming on this little trip and trying to find some of these mammoth petroglyphs. And always remember, life is a gift. So never stop learning and never stop exploring. We'll see you next time.